taking the human being,
Yeah.
the human actually belongs
I
on
mean,
this level.
they can have, without being aware of that, they can have experiences.
Yes.
But without
Yes.
understanding, like you were saying, you know,
Yes.
40 years ago, you
Yes.
experienced the stillness by looking at the
Exactly.
picture.
Exactly.
Without knowing that.
Yes.
And I know many people, you know, have experiences
Yes.
by looking at the sunset or listening to music.
Yes.
But are not.
But the total clarity
Yeah,
is obscured
that's
because
right.
it comes in as a glimpse.
Yes.
And it appears to be something that emerges in the stream of time.
Yes.
It's seen for a moment and then it's gone again.
Yes. And would you say there is a process where this part moves more and more into awareness, or is it just, I know with some people it's just an explosion?
It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
The idea of self-realization is something that's actually evolved over time. Because when I was a boy, I was only familiar with Jesus. You know, I'd maybe heard of Buddha.
Yeah.
But, you know, there were very few people, there were only divine beings that I was aware of.
Yes.
That were fully aware of God.
Yes.
Or fully aware of one's true universal nature.
Yeah.
Over the past 40 or 50 years, in the appearance, the sort of virtual reality of human experience, you could call it, there's been a development. So, you know, say in the 1960s, there were gurus and teachers that came over from the East with the concept of enlightenment or self-realization. And they gave people the idea that it was possible. So before then, you know, in many of the Western traditions, we had to wait until we were in heaven or, you know, some other state to be able to experience our true nature.
Yes.
But from the 60s, there was the idea that it was possible to attain enlightenment. There was at least the concept of enlightenment. And then, say, through that period, say through to the 90s, it started to speed up a little bit, because there were examples of people who seemed to shift into self-realization. But there were not many of them, really. And it quite often happened with no spiritual practice. You know, sometimes there had been, sometimes there hadn't.
Yeah.
More recently, you know, there are many examples of people where the true nature has been realized.
I mean, it was so fascinating because when we started with Conscious TV, you know, we had no idea. All of a sudden, all these people started popping up only in England.
Yes.
You know, who were self-realized, and
Yes.
it was just amazing. You know, we had no idea. Yeah.
Well, self-realization. What happened to me is it seemed that it was something that was virtually unobtainable to now, where it is completely attainable. It's really a question of accepting it, because the key thing is to accept one's ever-present true beingness or awareness.
But how can you accept something you did not experience?
Because it isn't experiential. Because the awareness that Renate in this moment appears to be aware. Renate is aware of the body sitting on a sofa, of talking to this other person.
Yes.
And self-realization is the simple acceptance that that awareness that is aware has no boundaries. That it isn't something that is owned by Renate, that it is actually a universal awareness, and it always has been universal, that there isn't anything within that.
Yeah, but you see, if I look at myself, or as my own, at my own process, you know, I would hear these words, I would understand them, but there was one point where there was an experience, actually just talking with you, where a shift happened. Yeah, so what you say, this shift doesn't have to happen?
No, the shift quite often obscures because it makes it appear as though a shift is necessary. What Renate had was an experience.
Yeah.
So there can be a deepening of the experience of silence, of stillness, of awareness, without any concepts arising within it. And as that deepens as an experience, it's something that becomes tangible. But what the mistake many people make is that they think that experience has to become a permanent state for one to be self-realized.
That's right, yes.
But in self-realization, nothing actually changes in terms of one's beingness. One's beingness is here already.
But isn't self-realization, when self-realization happens, isn't there also a mutation in the brain? And you are different afterwards?
Yeah. Yeah, what happens, trying to put it really simply, there's no shift experientially in self-realization, but what does change is up to the point of self-realization, there's quite often intense seeking and there's quite often intense suffering as well.
Yes.
At the point that one sees that one always has been infinite, unbounded consciousness, then the structure that is arising through the human nervous system and the brain does change. In that previously there was desire, so there was desire for enlightenment, or there was desire to be happy, or there was desire for something to change. Once the self has been seen and accepted, or just simply accepted, then there is no longer the seeking in time, because there's a seeing that here we are, here and now.
Yes.
The being is fully present.
Yes.
There's nothing missing.
Yes.
It's absolutely full.
Yes.
And total and perfect here and now.
Yes.
Therefore, it's only a matter of allowing everything to arise. So the agenda that was there before in the seeking to try to find something in time, to try to find what was missing, to try to fulfill this desire to become happy, all of that just collapses, and then there's an allowing of life. So there then is just a simple responding to what's arising.
You know, there is so much energy involved into the seeking.
Absolutely.
That when actually it is seen, it is so simple, I guess, that it's so difficult to accept.